I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses because it would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hindquarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What is up, everybody? I'm Wayne, your host. Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. Tiffany, what the hell? What? You have let yourself go.
It's ma'am. I don't care what you say. The joke's funny.
As you guys can see, Miss Tiffany could not be with us tonight. She has suffered another power outage. Brian and I did that live over for that Bigfoot podcast over on his channel. And Tiffany was supposed to be a part of it, but couldn't because she had no power for like 2 days. Got it back and then lost it again. It literally came on about 20 minutes before showtime tonight. But Mr. Bobby has graciously agreed to fill in tonight to help us with this episode. And I appreciate it. How you doing, buddy?
I'm pretty good. It's odd to me to have any free time on the weekend anymore that I'm not trying to sleep. So I was like, yeah, I'm coming. The moment you texted me, I'd message someone else to see if they were doing a show, trying to do it. And then yours came in on top of it. So, hey, you busy tonight? I know what he wants. So, yes.
Wow.
The fate's allowed.
I really expected you to say that you were going to be busy or something. I was going to have to be doing this by myself. But no, I get to hang out with a buddy and talk to a really cool guest.
She is really cool.
Yeah. We're going to have an awesome show tonight. We got Angie back from Arkansas. The lady that had the pervert Bigfoot spying at her through the window. The peeping Tom. The peeping Sam Squatch.
Sam Squatch. It's not the same one that tried to breed that horse in your intro, is it?
It might be.
I always forget that story. I'm like, wow.
Talk about blasting away with the dirty.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love that.
Like Hank Jr. 6 years in with a 30-30.
He says it's a 30-30, but he says dirty.
Yeah, he's from like New Jersey or something. Dirty.
He's from New York. He's the Squatch father.
Is that Andre?
Al Santorio.
Al Santorio, yeah.
Yeah, that's him. That's his story.
No wonder it sounds familiar. He's told it on my show before. Never mind.
Blasting away with the dirty.
Squatch father, Al.
He's awesome. I hope he's watching tonight. He'll let me know.
Is he the one that had the caverns under the the neighborhood in Florida story? Is that him? Swam down there and saw him. Who was that? I can't remember.
I don't remember him telling that story when he was on he came on my show like 3 or 4 times.
He'll come on your show if you ask him. He'll be right there.
Yeah, he will.
He's one of those dependable guests.
Yeah, he's a good dude. All right. As I said, we got Miss Angie from Arkansas backstage, ready to go. Going to pick up where she left off. Something about a Bigfoot banging on the walls or something. She will fill us in on all of that here in just a moment. But I am going to pay some bills real quick. This is usually where Tiffany and I do it, but Bobby, you just sit over there and look pretty, all right?
I'm doing it.
Sip on your brewski and just hang out. There you go.
Yep.
Guys, if you are new to the show tonight, we appreciate you hanging out. Before you leave, please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Help us continue to grow this show. If you've had an experience and would like to come on and share it, we would love to talk to you about that. You can get either me or Tiffany. You can get me at Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com or Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com. You see how clever we are and how we did that whole thing? So, yeah, if you want me, you put in Wayne. If you want her, you put in Tiffany. That's it.
Press W for Wayne.
There you go. But, yeah, we would love to have you if you have an experience to share and would like to do that in a safe place. This is the place to do it. Please reach out to either one of us. Also want to invite everyone to head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. That is our website. Check out all of the other shows under the studio's umbrella. Sign up for the Bigfoot newsletter. Pick up some merch. All of that good stuff.
Somebody asked what it was.
There you go. Yeah, I hear that Bigfoot podcast is a pretty good show. So head over and check that out. You can find that at paranormalworldproductions.com. I guess tonight, if you would, I know that you're going to have questions. You always do. You guys are awesome. You're always respectful, and we appreciate that. Your questions, please put them in all caps. It just makes it easier for us to find them and highlight them and save them for the end of the show where we do the rapid fire last 10, 15 minutes or so. But yeah, put those in all caps if you don't mind. It helps us out so very much. Manimalresearch.org is our website, the organization that I founded back in 2019. It has grown so very much. And Miss Chris Blaylock, who is hanging out with us tonight, she always is, her and her awesome husband, Goonie Goo Goo, Mr. Gary. Chris has built us a website. It is still basically under construction. We're working out the kinks and everything, but it is up and going. She has included the store. So we have some animal research gear that you can pick up. Shirts, hoodies, mouse pads, just things like that. And we'll be adding more stuff as we go along. But manimalresearch.org is the website. If you are having anything going on in your property that you would like to have an investigation team come out and check out, you think it might be Bigfoot related, we would love to be the ones that do that for you. There's never any charge to come out and investigate your property. You're helping us. You're doing us a favor by allowing us access to gain more knowledge and more research. So if you're having anything going on in your property, we would love to be the ones that you contact to come and have a look. Also, if you are interested in becoming an investigator, we would love to talk to you about that. We're in 5 or 6 different states now and continuing to grow. We have an awesome group of people, awesome team. We're doing a group camp out next month at the LBL. If you're interested in becoming a member and getting in on some of that, we would love to talk to you about that. Just go to manimalresearch.org and hit the contact, and we will get back to you. All right, guys, the membership. You guys know we have a membership that is $1.99 a month. You get access to a Discord, a members-only Discord that we have. We do members-only lives. We are doing a members-only giveaway. We still haven't really gotten all of the information up on that, but we will be getting that to you very, very shortly. The members only, like I said, it's just $1.99 a month. You get members only lives. We hang out and watch spooky videos. Basically, is what we do. We do movie nights from time to time, or we're going to. Like I said, we have the members only Discord, just all kinds of cool stuff. It's $1.99. It helps us out so very much. If you want to become a member, you're interested, please click that join button. We would love to have you. Lastly, I forgot how hard this is to do, but
I'm enjoying myself over here. I'm in the chat like I'm on ICQ back in the day.
my mouth is so dry right now from all this talking. Oh, Lord, I needed that. All right. If you notice at the bottom, the Cash App and the Venmo, you guys have been so awesome with helping us out with super stickers in the past. And a super sticker is just a way to help a channel grow, to send them a little bit of money to help them with the behind the scene costs. But YouTube, they like their money just like everyone else. They are pretty heavy-handed on their fees, and you only get that once a month. So we have been asking people if you would like to help us out monetarily to do that through the Cash App or the Venmo. It comes straight to us. We don't have near the fees that YouTube charges, and we get it automatically instead of having to wait a month on it. So you guys, that's an option. If you want to help us out, none of this stuff is free. Everything costs money, and we pay for it out of our pocket. So Tiffany and I split everything down the middle. So if you guys can help us out with Cash App and Venmo, we would very much appreciate that. All right, where are we at? 12 minutes in. Bobby, talk for a minute so my voice don't hurt.
Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting we got a guest coming. I was like, I've got questions for you now. I'm like, well, when somebody does the manimal thing and comes over to you, and you go to a piece of property, how do you determine what's the first step you do if you go to a new one, a new 10 acres somewhere?
Ask that question again, Bobby. I'm sorry.
When someone comes to manimal research with a potential activity on their property, what's the first thing you do to like break ground on the investigation?
Well, I mean, we obviously have to get a hold of them to set up a time to come. Preferably, we would like to camp. We want to stay overnight. We wanted to do a night investigation. So preferably that's okay.
Just to sit and listen.
Yeah, just to sit and listen. We go out on the property. We are very respectful of the property. We take out anything that we bring in, any kind of fire rings or anything like that. We make sure a fire is okay. If they don't want a fire on the property, we just won't make one. You know, but yeah, we get in contact with the homeowner and hopefully allow us to camp, go out there and just give them an honest assessment. A lot of the people are positive that something's going on, and you just offer them suggestions of things that have worked, that seem to work for other people, you know, to deter them, like lights, you know, putting up floodlights and motion sensors and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it was perfectly. I didn't know if you hung up audio recorders in the trees for a night or anything like that.
That's we have all kind of techniques. The audio is something that we do. That we hang up trail cams, thermal, night vision. We have all of that.
Cool. I'm always interested in that stuff.
Well, you need to become a member and come out with us.
No, I really should.
Yes,
you need to do something. I'm getting fat over here.
All right, we have wasted enough time. Let's get to our guest, Miss Angie. You guys remember her from, I guess it was about a month or so ago. She came on and just blew everybody away. It was an awesome show. It was one of the best that we've had in a long time. She talked about the Bigfoot looking in on her and her sister when they were kids. But she still has some stuff to talk about, so we have invited her back. And without further ado, we're going to get her out. Angie, how you doing, ma'am?
Hi, good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us again. I hope you've been doing well.
I've been doing well. Thank you. My pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Good
Yeah,
deal.
too.
Good deal. Now, let's pick up where you left off.
Okay.
You were telling a story about something hitting the house, the cat, the trailer, or what was going on?
All right. So if you remember I was in Maine, Southwest Harbor specifically, and I was staying up there, and I was getting just really scared every night, and I don't know why. Just a little recap. One night I came out, well, not night, the next morning I came out, and there was that rock at my front door. A week or two later, we had the slap on the house. So I was sitting there on the couch. It was nighttime, and I was just watching TV. Now remember, I was there alone, and all of a sudden I heard wham, and I turned, and I could tell it was coming from the kitchen, and it was at the top of the kitchen wall. Now it wasn't the ceiling; it was the wall. It was the outside wall, and it was slapped. And I just sat there, and I was frozen. I was like, holy cannoli, what was that? Now, I had mentioned in the last show that there were no trees around the house. There was nothing in the yard. They had a big perimeter mowed around the house. So there was no tree branches, nothing even close to the house. And so I was just like, what just slammed into the side of the house? Now, I instantly, by the tone of it, knew it was a slap. Which freaked me out, of course, because you're home alone at night in a strange town, no one, all this activity has been going on for a couple weeks, and now your house is getting slapped.
Now, where was this? Remind us again, Angie, where did this happen?
It's in Southwest Harbor, Maine.
Maine,
it's about
that's
30
right.
minutes. I'm not real familiar how that island is, but it's about 30 minutes from Bar Harbor, Maine. So if you're familiar with Maine, it's northern Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
About halfway up, but still pretty high up.
Okay.
And I just sat there in fear, and I didn't know what to do. We had mentioned before on the last episode, I did not call the police. I did not want anybody to know I was there alone. And so if I called the police, then they were going to know I was there alone. And I know you had mentioned before how you didn't understand that, but Tiffany understood. It's a girl thing. It's a woman thing, especially when you're traveling far from home. You just don't want anybody to know that you're there.
Yeah.
And so I just sat there. Like I said, I had no protection, no guns, nothing. I guess I could have went and got a butcher knife out of the kitchen, but come on, seriously.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, did you like put one in the chamber?
I wish I could.
Happened. Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have, but yeah, I had nothing. I was sitting.
You were just visiting.
I was just visiting. Yeah.
Wow. Ooh.
I was actually there. I rented a house for a month to get away from my allergies here in allergy season. So that was the first time ever being there. Never been there before, and all this activity is happening. And at this time, I was not a Bigfooter. I was totally oblivious to the subject. Now I knew about Bigfoot, but at that time, it wasn't on my radar really.
Yeah.
But when I heard the smack, now up until that point, and I said it wasn't on my radar much. I had already been watching at that point. I guess Finding Bigfoot was the TV show that was on during that time. So once a week when it would come on, I would watch it. But that was the extent of my Bigfoot. I wasn't watching YouTube videos. I wasn't reading books. I knew nothing except for what was on Finding Bigfoot. So when the house got slapped, I sort of knew then, okay, the rock situation, getting creeped out every night, and now my house is getting slapped. That's when I started putting two and two together. And I was like, well, but Gigi, now what? I got a Bigfoot outside, presumably. What do I do? Like I said, my thought process on Bigfoot up until that point was, they're going to carry you off into the woods and eat you. Mm-hmm. They're dangerous. You're in danger if you ever come upon one. And so here I am sitting there going, I don't dare go outside. there's no way to protect myself inside. So I just kind of sat there in a state of shock and confusion. And what do I do? And kind of like what I did the whole other nights, when I would just be sitting there and that wave of fear would just wash over me just out of the blue. Well, enough time went by. Nothing happened after that night. And so it was time for me to go to bed. And, so I had to do that walk of fear past that round window that I talked about last episode. Boogied past that as fast as I could, went up the stairs, went to bed, locked myself in the bedroom. Like I said, even though I would go upstairs, that fear feeling wouldn't go away. The only time it would go away is when I would wake up in the morning and, I survived the night, so to speak. And I was like, okay. And, the fear was gone. Mm-hmm. But at night it was there the whole time. And I didn't understand that at that point. And so after the whole wall getting hit, a couple of days later, like I said, every night it would happen, the fear would come. But nothing would happen besides the fear. So I just knew something was there. I just didn't know what or how many or all that. Well, fast forward towards getting close to the end of my stay there. I was sitting on the couch at night, as always, watching TV. And just a little background of how the house was laid out. In the living room, it was a long, narrow living room. So from where I was on the couch, there was the coffee table, then like a little walkway, and then the wall. And the TV was mounted on the wall, and it was an outside wall. So just on the other side of the wall was the front porch. It was just a very narrow living room. Like I said, 4 or 5 feet max, the distance across it. And there was a sliding glass door to my left, and down a little bit was another sliding glass door. So I'm sitting here and I start getting the fear feeling again. So I'm like, okay. Nothing's happened really. So Angie, you're fine. And then do you guys remember that? And I hope I don't offend anybody by this, but I know I just equate it to my grandparents because they had this type of furniture, that old wrought iron, at the time, black outside furniture. It had like really woven, intricate patterns, and it was like raw, and it was very heavy.
I remember.
Cool. That's the furniture they had on the front porch. Very heavy furniture.
Yeah.
Going back a bit, some nights I would sit there and I would hear the wind just whipping around that house. And, I'd be talking to my husband on the phone going, you got to hear this wind. It is strong. It's just whipping around that house. The furniture would not move. So fast forward to this night, I'm sitting on the couch. The fear feeling washes over me again. And from the front porch, i.e. 4 to 5 feet in front of me, on the other side of the wall, I heard the patio furniture move. You heard that skipping, that, when you would move it, how, because it's so heavy, it just wouldn't pull straight. It would like kind of bounce and skip, pulling it. I heard the furniture move on the front porch. Now, like, mind you, it's 4 to 5 feet in front of me on the other side of the wall with 2 glass doors next to me. And I was like, shocked. I sat there and I'm like, okay, it is literally right outside my door. Now, to give a little bit more insight on that front porch, it wasn't a skinny front porch. That front porch deck, it was big. It was built for company because that deck overlooked, what do you call that when all the boats and stuff are in a harbor? Well, I guess a harbor.
Marina,
harbor. There was a lot of boats out there. And actually across the way was a Coast Guard dock. So I could see the Coast Guard from that porch. So that porch was like a gathering spot. So when they built the house, they built it huge. So a lot of people could sit out there because, that was kind of the focal point.
Yeah.
So nothing could be standing on the ground and reach and pull it. It had to have been on the porch. Even though I never heard any footsteps, who's to say it was walking? Maybe it pushed itself on its belly. I don't know. All I know was I was sitting there and that furniture moved. I could hear it scoot, and those, huge old winds never moved it. And so I was just waiting for something to either start tapping on the glass windows or to bust through the windows. That was my rationale at the time. I was just literally petrified. and I didn't know what to do. Once again, I didn't call the police. Same thing. And I know that sounds irrational, but when you're kind of in a state of shock, things don't make sense. You don't always make the best decisions.
Yeah.
But I just kept thinking, I don't want anybody to know I'm here alone. And like I said, I know that sounds irrational. You would think your safety would be the key. But in that instance, I didn't know which one I wanted to deal with. If I wanted to deal with what was on the porch, or if I wanted to deal with people knowing I was there alone. It's just one of those weird things that girls deal with. So nothing else happened after that night. I didn't hear it move again. It was just that one time. And just like the other nights, I waited till, 11, 10, 11, 12. Nothing is happening. And I scurry upstairs, lock myself in the bedroom. And that was all for that night. So like I said, almost every night that something would happen, mostly just the fear. It was when it would come close to the house. I was already scheduled to leave on October 28th. Now, all this was happening in the month of October up in Maine. I was already scheduled to leave. So I believe it was on the 27th. I was sitting there at the house at nighttime, settled in for the evening, and all of a sudden the fear came, but it came like 1,000% worse. And to this day, I do not know why it came in so strong that night versus all the other nights. I was sitting there on the couch watching TV, and all of a sudden the wave of fear came over me again. So innately, I was like, okay, it's back outside. But it was so strong. I wanted to sit there and cry on the couch. The fear that was hitting me was so strong, and I didn't understand it. And I was sitting there, and I knew, okay, Angie, just go to bed. Just go upstairs and go to bed. Lock yourself in the bedroom and go to bed. But the thing was, I did not. I mean, it was hard to go up those stairs the rest of the nights, but that night in particular, I was petrified. I was sitting on the couch, and it was like I was crying on the inside, knowing I had to walk past that window and get up those stairs. I wanted to crawl on my belly and go up it, just so whatever was out there could not see me. I knew something was out there. And when I was heading towards those stairs, it was kind of like the Green Mile walk. You're walking and you're like, you're walking into danger. I was walking towards it, and I was just to the left of the window, so it couldn't see me yet. I could see the window, but I couldn't look out the window. As I'm walking towards the window, I had to turn at this point to go past the window to go up the stairs. And as I turned, I just innately put my hand over my eyes and ran as fast as I could. Now I have a bad knee, so I can't really run, but for me, walking fast is running. And so I walked fast and just had my hands like this. And I don't know why I did that. And I was talking with Brian before about that. I said, I don't know if I did that because I didn't want it to see me, or if I didn't trust myself not to look out to see it, out of curiosity. But whatever was out there, I didn't want to see it. I didn't, but I knew it was there. And I knew, and I know this sounds weird, but in my heart, I knew that if I looked out there, I would have seen it. Those other nights, I didn't have that gut feeling. I mean, I knew it was there because of the fear, but I knew that night, if I looked out, I would have seen it. And I didn't want to. I was so fearful of my life. And even though it only left me a rock, it slapped the side of the house and it pulled the furniture. That's really all it did. But that fear, night after night after night, for a month, this went on for a month. By that last day, I was at my wit's end, and I could not wait to get out of there. So the next day, I wake up, everything's good, pack my bags, get out, get back home. And it was probably a good month of being back home here in Arkansas, that every night when nighttime would come, I would start to get scared. It was like a PTSD type of thing. I would get worried, even though nothing happening here, it was still flashing back to what was happening up there. And it took me a good month, if not longer, to decompress and not be fearful of when nighttime would come.
Now, you were there for a month.
I was.
In that whole time, did you ever get the opportunity or think to talk to neighbors to see, or locals to see if they know of
Mhm.
anything that could be going on like that?
No, I didn't. I was the only house in the neighborhood that was open. So it was still winter, even though it was October. I'm sorry. It was not October. It was April. Sorry. I was in October in another spot of Maine. It was April when this was happening. I got my Maines mixed up. It was April. It was still, people were still out of town because, they leave for the winter.
Yeah.
So people were still out of town. And so nobody was coming. Nobody had really come back yet. At the end of April, when I was getting ready to go home, that's when they started coming back. So I had no neighbors. I was the only house in the neighborhood.
Did you go double check the furniture position the next morning?
I did not. I was
That's been cool. Yeah, but they're all like piled on top of each other.
There was one time I did go outside and I looked around the yard for footprints. It was after the house got slapped. I did walk around and look for footprints, but at that time, I was not very good at finding them. Since then, I've made a real effort to learn to look for tracks. So at that time, I didn't know what I was looking for. And plus the substrate was kind of spongy. And so it wasn't, when I would walk, I didn't see anything. So,
and it makes sense that the time you were there was a time that the locals were normally gone. So maybe these things knew, hey, there shouldn't be anybody here. Why is there someone here? Let's go check it out.
That's what I think too.
That's speculation, but
I bet the neighbors know a lot.
Yeah.
I bet they have a lot of activity.
And since then, reflecting back on it, I wonder if the owners of that house know. I never told them. People have asked me, well, did you tell them? I'm like, oh, heck no. I didn't want them to think I was some weirdo. But for something to feel so comfortable coming in night after night after night after night for a month, it doesn't sit well with me with them not knowing something would have been around. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong, but
let's get the address and get them on the show. It's public knowledge.
They'll be like, what happened?
Mr. and Mrs. Barcelowski, have you had any things at your main cabin?
And you know what's funny? I've looked up that house since then. I wanted to see what they were charging. I got a really good deal on that house. And that's why I went. Because it was only like $80 a night. Now, what Verbo house do you find that's $80 a night on the coast?
Ooh.
Yeah. I haven't seen it listed since then. So it makes me wonder why they pulled it off. But
the Bigfoot bought it.
What if we get the address and just kind of do our personal research and see if there's any like Reddit stories or anything about it?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, because that's one of those things like Roger Williams from Tennessee and Robin also from, I can't think of her. Oh my God. But they grew up in the same haunted house together, just in different generations because they're about 20 years apart. So it could be like a similar situation. Like all these people have these wild ass stories from that one house in Maine. Like I got abducted.
I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Like if you paid pennies on the dollar to rent it, and then no one was there, and it gets slapped, and that wrought iron furniture gets moved. You're not the first person to ever experienced that.
Oh,
That's not day one stuff for them.
Yeah,
true.
That's cohabitation behavior there, and you're just an intruder in their house.
And that's what I thought later on. I'm like, dadgum, they got to know that those Sasquatch, and I don't know how many they were. I never looked out the window, and I don't know the size of them. It could have been a juvenile for all I know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But something was comfortable enough, like you say, to come back night after night after night. And that's just, to me, that's not normal. That seems like habituation to me as well.
Ma and Pa quit living out peanut butter and they want to know what was up. Where's my apples?
On the door.
Where's my maple syrup? Whatever they eat in Maine, I don't know.
My Vienna sausages.
Yeah.
Right?
Where's that Roger Williams tune?
Okay, so
Roger Miller.
Main trip over. Where do you go from there? What happens next, if anything?
Well, I've had little experiences here and there, and not everywhere. I say that tongue in cheek, but I have had other experiences. The one that I'll tell you about happened when I got back. I was up in Washington this past October for my allergies to get out of Arkansas. So when I came back in November, I was all excited because I was up there doing scouting research the whole time I was up there. So when I got back, I was like, all right, I got to find a spot here. Where can I go here? And so I was out scouting locations. And what happened was crazy. So I get to a spot here in, I'll just call it the White River here in northern Arkansas. And it's near a town called Eureka Springs. While I was in Washington, I saw that there had been like 4 sightings in Eureka while I was up there. So I was like, I'm gonna head towards Eureka when I get home. So that's why I went. And I'm like, okay, I need to find a place with pine trees. I need to find a place with water. And that's how I ended up where I ended up. So it was a calculated scouting. You know, I knew this could be a possible good spot because it kind of, you know, checks the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I get there, and the area I go to is closed for the season, which I was expecting. You know, it's late November. So I get there, I pull up, I get out of my car, and I instantly heard a tree knock behind me. Kid you not. And I was like, no, this can't be. I mean, I just pulled the spot out of the air, so to speak, even though it was calculated, you know, it was, I was just like, no. And so I start to walk, and I hear one from my left. And I was just like, that was a tree knock, sure enough. And then I heard one from my right. And I was like, that's 3 freaking tree knocks. I'm like, now mind you, I'm always by myself. Everybody I know works, you know, I'm a housewife. And so I'm always by myself. And so I was just like, how did I find this spot? How? So I walk around the gate. Like I said, the gates were locked because this place was closed for the winter. And I see
noticing a pattern.
Right? I think they like things that are abandoned for the winter.
Yeah, you need to quit going this place.
So I start heading to this area. Now, we had a tornado here in Arkansas back in May of this year. So a lot of our woods are tore up right now. And which makes, you know, looking for, you know, tree breaks and branch breaks and all that a little tricky because you're like, well, is that nature or is that Sasquatch? You know, it's kind of hard to tell right now. But there was a huge pile of brush over in this one area. And to get to that area, you had to walk through some dirt. And so I'm like, well, that's a perfect place to go look for footprints. Because, you know, where I'm walking at was pavement. Because, you know, it's technically a campground. So I'm like, okay, let me get off the pavement and go to where the dirt is, see if I can find any tracks. That's where I'll start. As I start walking over there, I instantly heard bam, 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 3 tree knocks fast and hard. And I knew, because by then, now, since Maine, that was 2 years ago. Since then, I have been head deep in all things Bigfoot. Coming back from there, I wanted to know everything about them because I had to know. I had to know what I was experiencing up there. And was I in danger? Was I not in danger? What are these things about? So I did like a 2-year head, you know, dive into Bigfoot. So now I'm more equipped to know these things. So I knew when I was hearing the tree knocks what I was hearing. When I was walking that direction and I heard 3 in fast succession, I knew that's bad. I'm going someplace I should not be. And they were alerting each other. Well, I'm assuming they were alerting each other. Maybe they were alerting me to get away. I don't know. But I took it as sorry, you know, and I was talking out loud. Why? I've seen other researchers do it. So I'm like, well, if they can do it, I'll do it. So I was like, oh, sorry. I didn't know I was going someplace I shouldn't. And so I literally did a 180 and was going the other way. As I'm walking that direction, I'm looking around, trying to find stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go over to the river. Because like I said, this campground was right butt up to the river, to the White River where I was going. And so I said, well, let me go look. Because here in Arkansas, we always make a joke that God forgot about us. He put a rock here and he was going to come back later and he forgot to come back because we are loaded with rocks. I mean, this place is rock haven. And so a lot of times you can't see like on the like at the lake or at the rivers. A lot of times it's just rocky. So you can't see footprints. So I was like, well, let me look over the bank down to the river to see if it's a muddy bank or if it's a rocky bank. So I look over and it's muddy. I said, perfect. So I found a trail that led down to the riverbank. So I go down to the riverbank, and I have my cell phone on a selfie stick. So if I see something, I can record it. But at this point, I'm not recording because there's nothing to record. It's just me walking, looking down at the ground, looking for footprints, and not seeing anything besides the typical birds and raccoons and squirrel stuff. And so as I'm walking, I can see in front of me the walkway ends. There was like all this bushes, and the mountain came down there. So my path stopped. So I look up, and as I look up, I'm looking into a den that was woven out of bamboo. And there was just a few twigs left that would go across the front of the den to kind of skew your eye. That way you're not looking straight into it. It kind of makes it a little bit camouflaged. I look up and I see this den, and in this den, in the front of the den, I see a deer leg, a deer skull, and a rib cage. And I was like, oh. And so I get my phone and I hit record, and I said, okay, and so I'm talking into my phone saying, okay, y'all, I just found something. And I go to lean in. As I'm leaning in, I hear, and you can see me. I have a video of this on YouTube. I turned to see what was making that sound. And I see a branch going through the air, the tops of the trees. As that branch was going over those trees, it was hitting the other tree. So it was going, it arched, and it went straight down into the river, and a ginormous splash happened. And I was like, and you can hear me in the air go, I think I got to go. And I'm just like, where do I go? There's only one way to go, because where I was at the riverbank, the river side was washed out. There was no way to get up that river, that hillside. The only way to get back up was from the way I just came down. And that's where the branch was thrown from. And I'm, once again, a sitting duck. I can't go backwards because the mountainside is there. I can't go right because the river is there, and it is fully flowing, and it's like crazy cold. Nobody ever swims in that river. I can't go to the left because that's the hillside. So I am trapped. So all I can do was go the direction that I came down, which is the direction that the tree branch was thrown. And so I said, and you can hear me in the camera saying, I'm just going to leave this thing running. I don't care what I'm filming at this point. I just want this on just in case something happens. Whether something happens to me or I happen to see something or it catches something, I'm just going to leave this thing running. And so I make my way back to where I just came down. But as I'm going, I'm talking to the Sasquatch, even though I don't see them. I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get too close to your den. And I'm like, but you're going to have to move because I have to go up this. I mean, I'm talking to this thing like it's an intellectual, but what do you do? I don't want to walk into this thing and he's, standing up there. So I'm just like, I'm coming. You're going to have to move. I just came down this way. So as I'm walking up there, I'm just talking. And I'm looking around, and you can see my camera. And if you go watch the video, I'm just constantly doing this because I'm trying to look to what I'm walking into. And I get to the top and I am out of breath. And like I said, I've had a bad knee. So what normally would take me a little while to get up, I boogied up it pretty good. I get to the top and I was just like, breathing heavy. I'm trying to get my composure. And now, mind you, I had just come back from Washington where I attended a Bigfoot conference. And they were talking about, don't be scared. There's no reason to be scared. Sometimes they test you to see how you're going to react. And if you pass their test, then they'll calm down. And I was hearing lots of things.
Yeah, I want to know how the hell people know that.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Right?
Thanks.
I'm like, okay, Angie, don't let them see you don't let them see you sweat type of thing. I was like, okay, just calm down. Don't run away.
That's stupid advice to give somebody, because it's coming. Yeah, it's coming out of their head. They don't know it for sure. Exactly. And if they say they do, it's a lie.
Mhm.
I mean, these things are animals, in my opinion. We don't
We don't know
know
what they're
how
going
they're
to do.
gonna act.
Exactly. So you hear.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You hear so many things out there, you don't really know what to believe. And so since that's kind of like the last thing I heard, I'm like, okay, I'm going to practice that. So Angie, get up there, get out. And you're going to leave. I already had in my head I was going to leave, but I wanted to stay there for a minute with, to get my composure, to let them know they didn't run me off, even though they are. I know it sounds whack, but that is legit what I was thinking. And because I had just heard people tell me, don't show them that you're scared. They're testing you. So I'm walking around this picnic table trying to get my breath, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely think I found a spot to come research, so you can hear me talking in the video. And as I'm walking away, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll come back another time. And that's kind of where I let the video end. And that's kind of what happened. Now, as I'm walking past the river down at the bottom before I make my way back up, I did look at the branch. That branch was at least 6 feet long. Now you tell me, I'm in an empty campground. I had to park at the road because the gates are locked. I am the only person there. What in the woods is going to throw at least 6 foot long branch over the top of like a 30-foot tree? Because the tree there at the river was tall. Go look at the video. You can see how tall it was. What is going to take a branch and throw it that high over it, not under it, but over it, and it arc and come down and splash into the water? What other animal in the woods can do that?
The fact that it happened right when you leaned in.
Right when I leaned in.
That reminds me of that new Godzilla King Kong movie where he threw that tree at the top of that dome he was in. That freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And right when you said the words and I leaned in, I got the worst deja vu I've had in a long time. I don't even know what happened. Like I was like, it hit me like a wave just now. I don't know. They're getting me.
Yeah,
Your
me
infrasound.
I don't know why.
Getting me.
I don't know why people think it's okay to make comments like they can't hurt you. There's nothing to be afraid of. They're just testing you. How the hell do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know things like this? Guys, we got to start questioning this stuff. The whole thing about it is so widely accepted that Bigfoot have day watchers that watch over the sleeping clan and protect them and all that stuff. How the hell do we know that?
Exactly.
Did a Bigfoot mind speak to a human and tell them this? And if so, let's talk about it. When did that happen? There's so many things we got to start questioning. And guys, it's okay to ask questions.
Yeah.
I just had an incident a week or so ago with a very popular Facebook group that I was a moderator for that I no longer belong to because I had the audacity to ask a question in that group that another moderator found offensive. So it got removed. All I wanted to know, all I asked was, how do you know? How do you know this is what they can do or what they can't do? How do you know that they have this ability, that ability? Did one of them mind speak and tell you this? Because mind speaking was one of the things they talked about.
Yep.
Did one mind speak to you and tell you this? And one of the other moderators responded, as a moderator, you should be aware of being respectful. This is not that. Because I had the nerve, the audacity to ask a person a question about what they've experienced.
That's crazy. You should be able to ask. Ask for what?
Yeah.
How do we know these things? I mean, we got to start talking more.
And we just mentioned you earlier, Roger. Where have you been?
Yeah, especially if you give somebody bad advice. You could get somebody killed.
Exactly.
Exactly.
These things, 8-9 foot tall reported. If it's true, these things are beasts.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They have the ability to rip you apart. And if there are people out there telling you, don't be afraid of them, don't back down, that's stupid.
And just think about, like I said, what is I have so many thoughts going through my head. What is able to throw a branch like that? What? Nothing.
Was it? Do you know if it was green or not? I don't know whether it matters since it's a 6-foot branch.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's still a big branch, green or not, just over the top of a tree.
You know, and there was branches sticking off that branch. So as it was going over the actual tree, its branches that were hanging down was hitting the tree's branches. And like I said, it landed, splashed, and, I got out of there. But it was funny, as I was making my my little video to put on YouTube to show people what just happened. As I was scrubbing the video, so to speak, I saw 2 images that I posted on the picture section. I forgot to put them actually in the little video I made. Mm-hmm. So it didn't make it in there. A lady's like, "Hey, you didn't put those pictures in there." I was like, "Oh crap." So I went and I had to put it in the post section in YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube page and go to posts, you'll see the pictures there. So there was one picture I have that I did not notice at the time. Like I said, at the time, it was fight or flight. I was just trying to get out of there.
Just don't get your arms ripped off. That was your only objective.
Exactly. So there's one image, like I said, I was just doing this as I was walking up. As I was doing that, it caught, in my opinion, an image of something looking at me from the top of the river. You can see it. It's kind of has its arm like this, and it's looking. And you can see the outline of it. Then when I was up there at the picnic table, which is right behind that spot where that image was, literally a couple feet away, you can see another image lined out. And that one was kneeling down, and it had its hand resting on its knee. And its other one was back behind it, like it could jump up any minute. It was kind of like not a squat, but it was leaning on its one leg with its arm on that leg. And if you want to go look at those pictures, you're more than welcome. But yeah, that was crazy. And then I had one more thing to share on that one, and then I'll let you ask a question. So, I've never told anybody this, but I figured nobody would believe me, so I haven't said it, but I'll tell you guys. After that incident happened, I got back in my car and I drove down, and there was another pull off, and it was on the same strip. It was less than maybe 2 football fields down. And I pulled in there, and I'm like, okay, this is going to show them that I'm not scared, that they didn't run me off. I'm still thinking that, don't show me you're scared thing. So I get out of my car, and there's like a little, like a 50, maybe a 20-yard grassy area. And then that goes down into the river, just where I was, but just in a different spot. And I get there, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, all right, I think I want to go over there. But part of me is still wondering if they're watching me, because I didn't go that far. It's just down there. And as I'm standing there, this is going to sound bat crap crazy. I know it, but it's the God's truth. I'm standing there, and I just start talking, going, okay, I'm going to head to the river again, type of thing, just trying to warn them. And I heard a grunt. And I was like, okay, stay cool. I'm like, I don't think I'll go to the river after all. I think I'll just stay here. And as I'm talking, I heard again. I heard 2 grunts. And I was like, oh, all right, I am not going over there. And I'm thinking they must have been following my car. And by the time I got there and pulled in, they were already there, like paralleling me as I was leaving. Mm-hmm. And I thought I got 2 grunts out of them.
Makes you wonder what else you could have provoked if
I would have
got a little closer, get another tree knock or another limb thrown at you.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest days ever. I got home and I was telling my husband, I said, you are not going to believe what happened to me today. You're not. And I was actually petrified to go back out there. I went back out there. I got a footprint cast out there about a month ago when the snow came. And I said, you know what? I think I know where they're at. I said, so let's go out there. And that was the first time in 2 months I had been out there. I was too scared to go back. But I did get their footprint cast out there. So, yeah.
How'd that turn out?
Kind of sucky, but I've never cast it in snow before. And so when I was out there and I was mixing it, I thought I had it mixed up good. But as I started pouring it, clumps of plaster of plaster of Paris was coming out, so I didn't have it stirred up as well as I could have. So there's 2 places where there's clumps, but the rest of it turned out. You can see the toes and definition and everything. It's about 15 inches long.
That's a good
I'd
one.
like to see that. I wish you would have sent me that. Sent me a picture of it.
I have it posted somewhere. Where do I have it posted?
Okay.
I can send it to you, and you can.
Send it to me. I've never done one in snow either.
It's my first time.
So was the whole print in the snow, or was it also in the ground? If that makes any sense.
It was all on the snow. It was on the concrete.
Huh.
So it's a campground.
Oh, okay. Oh, concrete. Okay.
So when it snowed, I could see little baby Squatch footprints. Then I saw the big ones, and I cast the big one, but I ran out of material. I couldn't do the small ones. So I'm hoping we're supposed to get snow tonight. So I'm hoping that if it does snow, I'll go back out there and see if I can get any more.
That is interesting. Think of how you would get one in the snow. I wonder if there's like an alternate substance you can use that would work kind of the same but different. I don't know.
I left it there for like an hour. I made sure that it was good and set before I went back and tried to even touch it.
Like Angie, or I'm sorry, Chris here says, Angie, you need David Zagan's book. David he's a forensics guy, and he's really big in prints. He just wrote a book on prints, so I'm sure he could help you out on how to do that. I need to ask him.
I wonder if you could spray like bed liner on it. That's a stupid idea. You know what I'm talking about?
No, that's not a stupid idea.
Yeah,
I mean,
it would kind of make it, if the snow was packed hard enough, it would kind of just make a little mold of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, some stuff when it reacts with the aerosol, it gets hot.
Because
some stuff gets cold, so it may work.
When I do casting, I spray it with hairspray.
Yeah, I've seen people do that.
I spray it with hairspray, and then I take some, because I use plaster of Paris as well. I take some of it in my hand and I sprinkle it over, just a fine dusting over the print, and that is to get inside the dermal ridges. Like if there are dermal ridges, that fine dusting will get in there, and then I pour my solution over that, and then the wet solution mixes in with what I sprinkled.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it comes out with a little more definition, I think.
I'll have to try that. I've never even thought about putting it in there a little bit, just dry, and then the mix in. Good tip. I'll try that.
That is interesting.
All right, so what's next, Angie?
Oh, I don't know. How much time do you have? I can give you a.
Well, if you got a short story, something, we're at the hour mark, but I mean, we're cool to go a little bit over if you are.
I had a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know I missed the first time you were on, but I wanted to know where your stance was with the woo woo and the ape, and where you felt, because I'm kind of in between. I think they can be both.
Yeah, biological or woo.
Man, that is the question of the century. I go back and forth. Some days I'm thinking, it's a relic hominid. It's a gigantopithecus. I can never say that word right. Yeah. So maybe Meldrum's right. Maybe that is a descendant. But then I'm like, man, it's so stinking smart. It's just like, it's got to be, part human. I go back and forth. I just don't know. Part of me thinks, I definitely think it's flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes
at some point, yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's part human. I don't know if it's a hybrid. I don't know if it's an ape, but it's just so smart. That I do know. It is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not flesh and blood, why is it pooping, and why is it going through garbage and eating and having to eat?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a spiritual thing or something, interdimensional, they could just go to their planet and eat or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
Have you seen the comparison from them and the Fae, though? The old Fae lore? It lays on top of each other. It's a perfect circle Venn diagram. It freaks me out every time I get into it.
Oh, I'll have to go look.
You'll read it, you'll start, because the thing you do for the Fae, when you go into woods to ask a favor from the Fae, the first thing you do is knock on a tree. And that's my favorite example. And if a Fae hands you a gift, it turns in and you eat it. Not only are you like slave to the Fae now, but the stuff turns to trees. And so what if, like, when a Bigfoot goes to his Frady hole his body turns into the leaves, and that's why we don't find it. This is me smoke circling hard, but I'm just saying anything's possible at this point. I mean, when I first heard about that, I was like, wow, that's the same story. If you look it up, it's amazing. Jason McLean does a bunch on it.
And some things are just, head scratchers. When you're walking and you just see one footprint out in the middle of the snow and it disappears.
One print. Where'd he go?
Where'd it go? Yeah. But, they could jump into a tree or something. And there's things that can explain it. But sometimes when it's just out in the middle of the field, there's no explaining that. And that's where it gets a scratcher. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So where are we going with the next one?
All righty. So the next one, this is a quick and simple one.
Okay.
My husband and I went up to one of our favorite places to go is northern Minnesota. We love the North Shore. And it's just fantastic up there. I go up there whenever I can. And we were up there this past August for our anniversary. And we got to the house quite late. We rented a Verbo house for the weekend. We got there quite late. It was on Lake Superior. So there was a ginormous granite boulder that I think the house was partly built on, because you would walk out that door and within 10, 15 steps, you're standing on this boulder looking over Lake Superior. And this house was off the main road. And it was like an oasis. The people who own this house have so much landscaping around this thing that you can barely see the house. I mean, there's trees and tall plants, and it was an old, I think the cabin was built in the 1800s sometime. It was an old trapper's cabin back in the day that they've redone and made it into a rental house. So we got there about 2 a.m. We had driven up there from Minneapolis. We had bad flight plans. Instead of flying into Duluth and making the drive, we had to drive from Minneapolis. So that was like a 4-hour drive. So we got there like at 2 a.m, super late. And I was still pretty jazzed because I was drinking a bunch of caffeine because I needed to stay awake for the journey. So I wasn't ready to go to bed yet. So I stayed up. I'm sorry, it was 1 a.m. So I'm like, honey, I'm going to stay up and, unpack my suitcase and kind of just get settled. So I was doing that, and he was laying on the bed, and finally he goes to sleep. So I'm laying there in bed, and I can't get to sleep. I'm just laying there, and this house is so old. It's a log cabin. So it's just logs. There's no insulation. So you're just the wood logs, and then you're outside. And so you can hear everything. So I'm laying there. I don't know exactly how long I laid there because it was complete darkness. I didn't have my phone because the phone light would wake him up. So I'm just laying there left alone to my thoughts. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I hear, and you're going to understand this analogy. Do you remember the cassette tapes back in the day? And if you were lazy and you didn't hit stop before you hit rewind or fast forward, it would do that, that weird sound. I hear that outside. I'm like, what is that? And then I heard boom, boom, boom. 3 loud footsteps gone. And as I'm laying there, now mind you, I did that long, head first into Bigfoot. I'm like, instantly the Sierra sounds popped into my head. I'm like, I just heard samurai chatter. They were just here. And I was just like, yeah, now I'm not scared. Back in Maine, I was scared. Now I'm not scared. I'm scared, but I'm like, that's exciting. So the next morning I told my husband, I said, you missed it last night. I heard samurai chatter. He had no idea what samurai chatter is. He's not a Bigfoot guy. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I told him, he's like, you heard that? I was like, I heard that. And I go outside and I'm looking around for footprints, not seeing anything. But like I said, it's on granite. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave a gifting table. I'm going to see if I can interact with this thing. So I go and I get a table and I set it up and I'm like, what can I leave for it? And I'm not a proponent of leaving food out for them. And so I'm like, and then we're traveling. So I'm like, what can I give that would, might have interest? So I just grab a rock. I'm like, you know what? They gave me a rock up in Maine. I'm going to give them a rock back. So I put the rock on the middle of the table and I'm like, all right, what's going to happen? Nothing ever happened. Never heard a thing after that. Never, nothing. That was just I don't know. I don't know if they just came up and saw that somebody was there and they're like, oh yeah, somebody's here. And they walked off, but it was just that fast. And that was my Minnesota story. of hearing some samurai chatter.
That's crazy, especially on Lake Superior. That thing is active.
Yeah.
Very active. Yeah.
Have you heard of the SS Kamloops in Lake Superior? You know how it's 1,000 foot deep and it never gets above 30?
Yeah.
They have to go down and check this chemicals that are stored in these the Kamloops, the boat, to make sure it's not leaking. Yeah, it's a sunk ship.
Okay.
And then divers have to go down there, and they're considered graveyards, but they have like hazmat things that have to check on.
How deep, Bobby?
1,000 feet.
They dive 1,000 feet.
Yeah, Superior's 1,000 feet deep. It preserves bodies. Which
I mean, but they can't. You can't dive 1,000 feet.
Oh, I don't. I'd have to look into it. I may be lying really bad. I'm just saying it's deeper than all the other ones. That's why it says it never gives up or dead.
Yes, and I'm a scuba diver, but I've never dove past.
See how deep this is. This is a good story though. With the divers that go in there to check it, in one corridor, when they go through it, it creates a current, and this body that's in this corridor gets moving and follows them because of the current. And his name is Grandpa and Old Whitey. There's pictures.
What do you mean by body? Like an actual
a dead person, homeboy. His name is Old Whitey. They call him Old Whitey or Grandpa. And when they go through this little corridor in his ship, he gets stirred up, and all of a sudden he'll come after him because of the currents they have to go through.
How scary!
Why don't they bring him up?
It's considered a.
It's very dark.
You know, it's considered a graveyard. You know, like a shipwreck, like USS Arizona.
It's like with the Titanic; they don't bring up the bodies. Yeah.
It's 250 feet deep.
Yeah, they can do that. Yeah, you can do that.
But the depth of Lake Superior is 1,000. That's. But
Okay, so you're just making stuff up, Bobby. I appreciate it.
Lion crying ain't shed a tear. Old Whitey, Grandpa.
Old Whitey, Grandpa.
I can't think of her name. I can find a picture of him right now. Right now. But
is it on the Minnesota side of the state of Lake Superior, or is it more on the Michigan or Wisconsin side?
I think it's closer to the Wisconsin side.
Okay.
But Chatin Noir, if you've ever heard of her, she's a cryptid researcher.
Sure, yeah. Who the hell hadn't heard of her?
I mean, she's international fame.
Yeah.
Just,
Wow.
She's a pop singer, right?
Here.
There you go. Pop it up.
I have to look up Old Whitey.
Do I have to be the one?
I think you will. See, it's kind of vague, but that's him. It's a body that follows the divers.
Wow.
What is that? Okay, this is underwater pareidolia is what it is.
The divers saw it. The divers see the thing. This is just their best picture of it. It's this body that kicks up and follows, and it like kind of settles back down, and then to go down the next year, and he comes back after him.
That's creepy as hell,
isn't it? Is that not wild? The first, if you look it up, there's tons of stories about it.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Send me some info on that. We might do a show about this crap.
Yeah, Kamloops, man.
They're probably sucking air, those divers.
Can you imagine the first time that happened?
No.
Hey, guys, guys, what is that?
What the hell? There's an old guy chasing me down here.
It's like a Scooby-Doo episode.
I know, I'm sucking air when a shark is following me, let alone a ghost. That's crazy.
That's wild. When you said Lake Superior, anytime anybody brings up Lake Superior, I'm bringing up Kamloops. I don't care if they said their relatives died down there. Is your relative Old Whitey?
What'd you say? Camel Toe? What?
Yeah, SS Camel Toe.
Oh.
It's the new club downtown, the Navy base. It's the new Chapel Roan song, the SS Camel Toe.
That is funny.
My daughter, oh my gosh, speaking of Chapel Roan, Pink Pony Club.
Mm-hmm.
You put that song on and she cuts the you know what loose. It's the cutest thing I ever seen. She's 3 years old.
Oh, man.
And she's singing and she just gets into it. Leaving Tennessee.
Yeah. Your southern drawl, 1,000 miles away.
She just goes off. It's the cutest thing ever.
That's adorable.
My 4-year-old does the same thing when it comes on. I'm like, you're singing about a stripper in LA.
Singing about drag queen strippers.
Yeah. Everybody can be a queen 1,000 miles away. No, you can't.
Yeah.
You're staying right here in Alabama. We're going to church. God dang it.
All right, let's get to some questions before this thing gets completely out.
I have the last one for Angie.
Okay.
Have you ever had a near-death experience? That's a no.
Never asked on this show before.
Well, when someone has the tendency to experience the Squatch, like wherever they go in an active area, they tend to have some kind of what's it called, a pre-existing condition. A lot of times they have like either they're just high vibrational or they had a near-death experience.
Gotcha.
Like people that just see paranormal stuff all the time.
You know what's funny? And my husband can attest to this. He always tells people, if you want to see anything out in the wild or out in nature, if we're going out looking for bears, stay with Angie. She'll see them.
I just wonder what it is about you. Because when you said you went to Washington and you're in Arkansas and Maine and you're getting thumps and tree knocks, I'm like, something's up. Do you have haunted house experiences? And when you go to like haunted hotels?
I do.
See, you got something going on. You got, but if it's not a near-death experience, you may just be rocking on a higher vibration, or be just.
Some people are like that, man.
They are.
Yeah.
A lot of times people aren't, and then they go and have something happen, and they just all of a sudden see everything. Like Mike Colantino from Long Island Bigfoot, he had that head injury, and all of a sudden everything's happening to him over in Iraq.
I don't know that story. I'm gonna have to go look at that story. But yeah,
my life's been just boring as hell. I get none of that stuff.
Nope.
All right, let's go to some questions. Got a few of them. This is not a question, but thank you, Goonie Goo Goo. You're the man, Gary. $1.99 super sticker. You're awesome. Thank you. Mr. T. Roy, how long did the previous owners live there, and did you ever ask them about any interactions? You might know what he's talking about, but
the main house.
The main house. Okay.
Main house. Like I said, so it was just a Verbo rental. So the people technically, I'm assuming, still own it, but no, I never said a word to them.
Okay.
I was, like most people who have Bigfoot stuff, you just kind of keep it to yourself. You're going to be laughed at or, made fun of.
Also from Troy, how many residents of the town in Maine? Good question.
Good question. I don't know.
That was 5,300.
5,300?
We looked it up.
Oh, good. I didn't know.
Thank you. Ristol, Angie, any new thoughts on the deer you came across?
Hi, Ristol. You must be watching my YouTube channel. No.
You built up. You got him so excited, and then you just hit him with a no.
No Ristol.
God.
I still am torn on it. I still feel personally that it was a Sasquatch doing that, just because I have seen so many dead deer in my life. Who hasn't seen a dead deer roadkill? I mean, seriously. And whenever you see them, they're always laying practically the same way, just like they were killed, but they just fell over. Everything looks normal unless they're like really mangled, but totally different than what I saw out in Washington that I put that picture up on. To me, it 100% looks like its neck was broken and it was placed there just how they wanted it for later. I personally don't think a car hit it because I've seen lots of roadkill from deer. Yeah. It just does not look that way.
I need to look at that because I've seen a couple of deer that with my own personal vehicles where you just hit their head and the neck breaks. It looks the death looks different. Like when they just get hit body shot, in the breadbasket, they kind of lay there just perfect, like they're laying taking a nap. But when their head is just, there's all kinds of different stuff.
Well, please go look at that little video. It's like 3 minutes long and see what you think. Because I don't know. It just looks all sorts of strange to me. It's not any type of deer that I've seen laying in the woods.
Usually it just looks like they're asleep. Just kind of laying there.
Yeah. It looks like it's laying there, but its head is going the opposite direction and its nose is almost tucked under its spine. Ooh. I mean, its head is way back there.
Like a velociraptor fossil, how it's all turned.
Yeah. And it was not touched for a week. I went out there day after day watching it on purpose because it was right next to the area that I was investigating. It was like 50 yards from it. And there were Sasquatch in that area. Like I said, that's why I kept going out there. Mm-hmm. And it's like 50 yards from it. And not one thing touched that thing for a week.
That is weird there.
Not a bird, nothing. It looks just like it did the day that it appeared.
I'll take a look right now.
All
Yeah.
right. 4 of our last 5 questions are from Mr. T. Roy.
All right.
Angie, what type of location was the deer found in? Gravel road, driveway, trail, etc.
Interesting question, because it's kind of all of those. So the area that I was at, there was a little residential road. The people who lived there was on this street, and then it was only like 10 houses. It was pretty remote. But with that being said, there was a driveway where this deer was off of the little road. There was a driveway that led back into, I don't know what they were doing. There was a gate, and I don't know if it was forestry or if they were back there doing sort of type of gravel work. I'm not sure. You know, it was gated off. I couldn't get back there, but it was laying. So there was the road, then there was the little driveway, and right here in a grassy area, it was tucked into that grassy area.
Is there a chance it could have fell from any height?
No, not from where it was.
I'm looking right now. That is not typical.
That's what I
That
thought.
is not. That is a deer that's been hit by a truck with only its head. But if like you say, there's no reason that would have been there.
Nothing touched it. Like I said, that area was so prolific with ravens. I was always dealing with the ravens out there trying to get recordings and stuff. I'd be like, shut up, ravens. I can't hear what I'm hearing. And not one bird went in to pick its eyes out or start eating on it. Nothing. There was no blood. Its fur or hair, whatever you want to call it, never got messed up from how it was. The eyeballs were still there. Nothing touched it.
That's incredible. Wow.
And it was in October when things are getting fattened up for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't reconcile that. But if you think it's a car, I'm good with that. I will be fine.
I'm just saying the nature of what it looks like just in the grass. The only thing I've ever seen happen like that is like when a car just hits its head or neck, folds it back. But if it's nowhere near the road, then they usually don't run very far when their head gets broken.
Right?
They're not really doing 100-yard dash. Usually right there.
Not really curled up, but it was kind of, it just wasn't sprawled out there,
Yeah,
or it's like walking, just fall over. Its legs were different.
The fact that nothing got it too, that speaks to like the extraterrestrial kind of mutilation, how the stuff never decomposes.
Well,
not to go that route today, but
I think the reason why it didn't start decomposing because it never smelled.
Mm-hmm.
And after a week, something dead is going to start smelling.
Oh yeah.
But like I said, during the daytime, it was in the low 30s, and at night, it was in the 20s. So in essence, it was naturally refrigerated.
Also, that's a big factor there.
Yeah. All right. T. Roy, do you believe it's possible that they see a single woman as an easier or less dangerous opportunity than a group of males? Therefore, you, being alone, have more encounters.
Yes.
Interesting.
I do believe that. I've been told that they're less threatened by women. And so that was, in Washington, when I was out researching, I had no choice. I was there by myself. Mm-hmm. But I made sure I did other things. I tried to keep my hair down so they could see that, I was a girl. If I had it up in a bun and a hat, they wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, they probably would tell by the way I walked. But, I was just trying to make it very obvious that I was a girl, so I wouldn't be as threatening. So I was hoping to get interactions by doing that. Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Troy, what's with the boomerangs behind you?
So about, 20 years ago, we went to Australia on vacation.
There you go.
So those are my souvenirs.
Yeah, they look cool.
Thanks.
All right, Squatch and Holler. What is Angie's channel?
It's called Squatch You Doing.
Squatch You Doing.
What you doing?
We will put that in the show notes when we release this to podcast, so everybody can head over there.
That'd be great.
And check
I'm a subscriber
that
now.
Yeah, I will be a subscriber here soon.
Yeah.
That's
all
crazy.
right. Good stuff. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You are very welcome.
Taking the time to come and hang out with us for a part 2. The invitation is still there if you would like to become a member of Manimal Research. We don't have anybody in Arkansas. I would love to talk to you about taking over that area.
Yeah, we need to talk. I want to know more about it.
Yes, ma'am. I have your email now. I will email you, send you my number, and we can set up a time to talk, phone call, text, whatever.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. Thank you again so much for hanging out with us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You guys as well.
Yeah,
And
this
thank
was
you, everyone.
All right.
Thanks.
See you later, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. How cool was that?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it's our first time since Tiffany and I have been doing this together that we've had a guest co-host. I appreciate the hell out of you hanging out with us tonight, Bobby.
Oh yeah,
You're all right in my
you're a
book.
rabbit hole in there for a second.
Yeah, I know you and I, we've talked about getting out in the woods and doing something to help you finish out a project that you're working on. Hopefully we can get that going here pretty soon.
We'll make something happen, at least related to it.
Yeah. And I mean, you're invited to come to the LBL camp out, but you're going to be, you're promised elsewhere that weekend. So that sucks.
That's still on March 15th.
March 14th, 15th. Yeah.
Yeah, dude reached out to me like 6 months ago. I was like, all right.
We'll get something else going. You and I get out in the woods and do something, but I do appreciate you helping out tonight. And all of that good stuff. You got anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to promote before we get out of here?
Just my channel. You can find all my stuff at bobbydizzle.com. But I'm doing that documentary on the Flintville monster, and it's going to release mid-March. Maybe if I can ever sit back in this room for more than 20 minutes at a time and finish it without somebody coming and getting me that needs something made, like in the kitchen. But I've also got this summer, my channel is going to be all Mothman all the time. Just from July 13th, which is a Friday the 13th, to September 21st, which is the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant. It's going to be all Mothman, my whole channel, except for maybe some sheep, just for Troy. He likes to see the sheep. But and then I think I'm taking the whole family to Point Pleasant for the Mothman Festival. I'm going to do like a short documentary from up there. But yeah, bobbydizzle.com, all things Dizzler.
Very cool.
Yep.
Again, thank you, buddy, for helping out tonight. You were awesome. Miss Tiffany should be back Tuesday for our next show. Hopefully her power will be straightened out by then. Everybody in the comments, Miss Tiffany, we love you, ma'am.
Hey, I'll be a panelist anytime too, Tiffany or no. I don't mind just hanging out in the background, being like Ed McMahon. Yeah.
we can definitely do that. All right, buddy. Again, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening as well. And until we talk to you guys later, y'all take care of yourselves.
Peace,
take care
folks.
of each other. Bye.